When I watch the Saints, what's always jumped out to me, and it's funny that because CJ Gardner-Johnson to me is like the person who epitomizes this. They play those two high looks, but the aggressiveness in those looks, it's almost counterintuitive how aggressive they can be while protecting themselves in coverage. The team that comes to mind when I think of this is the Bills. Like them and the Bills, I feel like they have that same feel to them.
Squeeze.
That's exactly. Fuck you quarters is exactly what it is.
That's what it is.
And that combination of being able to really body people, muscle you up, but without leveraging yourself on the back end is such an advantage. It's a safe version of aggressiveness. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Malcolm Jenkins. Who was the third one we're talking about? Marcus Williams. All three of those guys are no longer on the roster.
Right.
So how can you play this way? And how can you try to attack the Bucs in the way that has been very successful in the past without those pieces on the back end?
If I'm using week 1 as a reference point, then I think the answer is that you can't, because they didn't try. They didn't try it last week. In fact, I think I pointed this out to Nate last night when I was just kind of going over clips. I think they dropped 8 on more than a handful of times. And I felt like every snap that they dropped 8, they lost the rep. And I think a lot of that is just because you have to play so soft in coverage. You can catch a quarterback on that every once in a while, right?
Yep.
I've heard you talk about this, Robert, with Patrick Graham a couple of seasons ago in 2020 when he was doing a lot of drop 8, cover 2 stuff. And the Saints like to get into these 3-2-6 dime packages where you're walking backers up, you're creating these exotic type of looks, you're loading the front one way and putting all your backers on the other side so you can simulate pressure and then drop guys out. Well, that's great when you get free runners. And it's great when if you don't get free runners, you're playing tight coverage across the board. Well, what happens when you get neither? You have very comfortable quarterbacks who know the coverage picture that they're looking at and can really wait the play out until he gets to the point in the progression that he wants to get to. Last week against Atlanta, I saw a lot of Tampa 2, which is great for Demario Davis because he's athletic enough to handle it. But I think that speaks to the fact that, hey, our corners, all of our corners and our slot defenders and our safeties, I think more importantly, can't really handle all this one-on-one with no relief and coverage the way that we could last season. A lot of soft cover 3. Again, works great for Demario Davis in terms of taking those over routes in 3-by-1, but it speaks volumes to what they don't have available to them right now, and that puts a lot more strain on their front 4. And their front 4 makes for great pocket pushers. That's been the calling card of this defense for as long as Dennis Allen has been there. But I was watching last week against an Atlanta offensive line that, while improved, is still Atlanta's offensive line. Yeah. And I was watching David Onyemata and Shai Tuttle get blown off the ball on multiple occasions. And that defensive interior is what makes or breaks a lot of this stuff defensively. Yeah. So if that's what you see, then you get more of the mint and the bear and the odd looks. And again, you're back into what we were talking about with Philly, which is you can run that if you want, but you're not going to do all the pretty stuff on the back end. Right. If that's the world that you're living in. So it makes it really, really difficult for me to see a world in which they can play coverage the same way. So they're probably thinking their lucky stars that Chris Godwin is not going to be active for the game. Right. And maybe you just play a lot of 2 deep and say, hey, Tom, you're going to have to work the sideline. We're just going to make you work the sideline over and over and over again, take away those quick outbreakers, and see if you can matriculate the ball down the field in that way.
When you look at that recipe of being both not conservative, but safe and aggressive, the ratio of aggressive has gone way, way down. And at a certain point, if you're going to keep turning that dial down, you no longer are the Saints defense. Exactly. Like that, you lose the essence of why you've been the group that you have over the last couple of years. And that's why I think this game in particular, especially because Godwin's out, Evans hasn't practiced, Julio isn't practicing, Donovan Smith didn't practice. If this Saints defense can't put the clamps on this version of the Bucs offense, I think it's going to say a lot about where this group is right now compared to where they've been over the last couple of years.
So that's what's so fun. It's like, I know it's our little pet favorites, and now it's kind of like, this is kind of like this is the RC Cola version. Kind of like just a little, like just kind of like off. It's a little different than what it usually tastes like.
Right. Same amount of sugar, but not the same kind of taste, right?